Spotlighting Hawaii's leaders.
We want to bring in Governor David E.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Lieutenant Governor, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. Mayor Derek Kawakami.
Thank you so much, Senator, for being here.
Spotlighting the issues.
Where is the virus right now in our community?
How much is this overall going to cost the state?
How are you responding to the community's concerns? Talk about the level of citations that you guys are writing.
Spotlight Hawaii with Yanji Denise and Ryan Kalei Suji on the digital platforms of the Honolulu Star-Advertiser.
This episode of Spotlight Hawaii is brought to you by Long's Drugs.
Aloha and good morning. Thanks so much for starting your week off with us. I'm Ryan Kalei Suji, joined by Yanji Denise, and this is Spotlight Hawaii on the digital platforms of the Honolulu Star-Advertiser. This morning, we are shining the spotlight on the Honolulu Police Department under new leadership.
That's right. It's a process we've been following for some time, of course, in the search for a new chief, that search taking over a year. But now we have Chief Joe Logan live with us this morning from headquarters, and we are so happy to have the chief on with us. Good morning.
Aloha, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Well, we're so glad to see you. You've had just a few weeks on the job, but we're interested to know this far in, what are your impressions of the department thus far? And perhaps how do they differ from when you were interviewing for the job and could see it from the outside and now being on the inside?
Well, I can tell you the department hasn't changed a lot since 40 years ago when I came in the department as a young officer. While technology and automation and other things have helped officers do their job in a more efficient and effective manner, by and large, the concept of law enforcement and policing has not changed. The job still entails deterring crime and then apprehending and investigating criminal activity. But it also adds to a new community policing construct or enhancing the current community policing construct to be more engaged with our community. And I think that's where I'm going to bring the department farther forward.
There is a lot going on within the department and a lot that many would like to see done under your leadership. What would you say are maybe the top three priorities that you will be really focusing on in this maybe first year that you are in this position as the chief?
So a couple things. The first one and foremost for me is recruiting and retention, right? To build back the department, the vacancies that we have. Right now we're operationally sound. We're able to do our job and effectively serve the community. But we'd like additional officers on the streets to help deter more crime and activity that's going on. Not that we have a large increase of crime. There might be nuances in increases in crime. But overall, I think Hawaii is steady. Unfortunately, we don't want any crime, but unfortunately, we don't have control over the criminal actions of others. But also, I think another priority of mine is to engage within the department to earn the trust of the officers and civilian employees that are part of the department, right? Because I'm coming from the outside, yes, I was in the department 20 years ago, but I left and I've been gone since. So there's been quite a change of officers in that time period. And so they don't know who I am, but they probably seen me in my other capacity, but they never worked in this department with me as the leader. And so here is my opportunity to earn all their trust. And then together, I think once we get to that point, then we will go out and earn the trust of the community or rebuild the trust that HPD has that I left 20 years ago. That trust is still there. It might be eroded a little bit, but we're going to get all that back in the time that I have during this first year, and then further enhance that in the next 4 years following during my tenure here.
You mentioned recruitment, and that's been something that's been talked about so much throughout the process of finding a new chief. We understand that there are over 300 vacancies. Can you bring us up to speed on the kinds of officers, where those shortages really are? And, there was a lot of talk in the hiring process about perhaps moving folks around so that there would be more patrol officers. Is that something that you're actually doing at this point, or how are you able to make do with what you have?
So patrol is the priority. That's where the police department engages the public or our communities the most. And so that's where my focus is. Have we moved people out of other parts of the division to go back to patrol? Not necessarily. I'm still making an assessment on where everyone is as far as assignments. But we have, investigations division complements patrol, and actually the other support elements of the police department all complement the patrol. And so we need people in all of those areas to allow patrol to do what it does. If I had a critical role where patrol couldn't perform its duties, then I would see, quickly moving people from one area to another. But right now, I haven't quite. My assessment that I've done in the first 30 days here doesn't lead me to do that yet. But that is an option that we are taking a look at. And do I have people in the right place doing all the quality things that we need to do as a police department? So no, I haven't moved people in, but recruiting is the priority. So we are looking at enhancing, and I have discussions with the mayor as far as budgets and other elements, and the police commission as far as moving monies, if I have to, into the recruiting department so that we can get a better marketing schedule going to attract future police officers. As you know, we just had the Women in Policing event that over this weekend, and we had 40 individuals that came out, listened to many of the women police officers and leaders that we have in this police department, all outstanding individuals. And so they discussed with these individuals what it's like to be a police officer and what it's like to be a woman serving in uniform and serving in the police department.
When talking about just some of the efforts that you just spoke about in recruitment, the police department is not alone in this labor shortage issues. It seems like every industry and every department throughout the state and throughout the country is facing some sort of labor shortage. How do you think that you can help to build this marketing campaign that you speak of, or try to attract the people that you need to fill your department? Is it going to be focused on local? Will that include trying to recruit people from the mainland as well? Where do you think that you're going to find this base of people to help fill these needs?
So really, it's all those areas, Clay. That's an excellent question. So we are looking at getting back into the high schools. We have an Explorer program. So the Explorer program is running currently with younger generation that wants to or looking at law enforcement. And there's also those individuals that are out of high school that also are part of the Explorer program to see if this is a job that they want. One of the programs that was stopped a while ago, and I don't know why, but we're trying to bring it back, is the cadet program. So you come out of high school, you take the police test. You're not old enough to go to recruit school because you got to be 20 and a half to carry a gun or own a gun in the state. And so because of that, what we do is get you right out of high school. And then you come and work in the police department, and we'll put you in areas of interest or where we have vacancies and we need some assistance. And then you get to know and understand the department from within. So in a year and a half, 2 years that you go to recruit school, then you're better prepared and understanding the police department as a whole. So that's one avenue, is to get those fresh out of high school interested in or currently in high school, and then fresh out of high school getting interested in law enforcement as a profession. And then the other one, as you alluded to, was those officers that are either local or on the mainland that want to move to Hawaii and become a police officer down here. Then we're looking at attracting those people here. What I fight with is other departments are offering $40,000, $20,000, or $15,000 bonuses to either re-sign or to join their departments. So that is something I've discussed with the mayor. We're going to take a look at and see how we could do that as a department or a city, if we have the funding to do that kind of thing. But laterals, it's not something new. It's been tried before. And so although it didn't gain a lot of traction, but I think it's how we can attract future officers to come back to Hawaii. I'm eager to see with the SHOPO and the collective bargaining on what this new contract is going to be for our officers going forward, and what is, if any, their pay raises in that collective bargaining agreement. So I'm waiting to find out what that says, and maybe if it's a favorable thing, then there will be raises, and that might attract more attention to people who want to be police officers.
You know, the mayor was on here last week. He talked to us about a meeting that he had with your office, Steve Alm, the Honolulu prosecutor, along with members of the judiciary and some Honolulu business leaders about some changes to arrest policy, or rather release policy, not releasing folks on their own recognizance, but making sure that they get before a judge on Monday through Friday, so before they are released. Can you tell us what kind of a difference you think that that could make, and you know, your thoughts on that change?
So it's a change back to the way it used to be. So during COVID period of time, the courts wanted to limit the interaction between people that were arrested and the possibility that they had COVID coming to court. And so a way to do that was to release people and have them come back at a later date. And so judges came in Monday through Friday after work hours, and then released individuals based off their record and some other criteria, based on and released them on their own recognizances, and then it set a court date several weeks in advance. And so that didn't happen prior to COVID. The judges would come in on weekends or long weekends to help reduce the amount of people that were holding in the central receiving desk downstairs, and as a way to alleviate some of that pressure. And then the number of people that showed up for court on Monday or Tuesday morning, depending on a long weekend or short weekend. So that's all that we've done. We came back to the original policy that we have and how we do things with the judiciary and the prosecutor's office. So what's precedented is the three of us were in the room talking with each other. My relationship with Steve Alm, I've known him for decades now. There's a very good relationship. We understand each other. We understand that we may not agree on everything, but we agree to disagree, and we agree to move forward and help and serve our communities. And same with judiciary. And so the three of us, this is all part of the criminal justice system, what I call a three-legged stool, but really it has 4 or 5 legs, because the community has a leg in that stool, and very important in how we go further in establishing and practicing the criminal justice system, as well as police, prosecutors, and the courts.
You know, one of the things that we are seeing an uptick in is just the amount of crime and just the level of crimes, and some of the more shocking things that we're hearing of what's happening within our community that has caused alarm by many in the community to be concerned about their own safety and the overall public safety. I wanted to get your thoughts about some of the events that have happened recently, some of the types of crimes that we're seeing, and what you see the Honolulu Police Department's role in trying to help to make residents feel safe and curb down some of the crime that we've been seeing.
So that's a multifaceted answer to that question. We have seen this week, or last week, some unique criminal activity. I don't think I've, in my 40 years of being an adult here in Hawaii, I've seen somebody with a sword chop somebody's hand off in an argument in front of 7-Eleven. So these are kinds of things that are very unique to, probably not just in the United States, but it was unique to Hawaii. We haven't gone through that yet. So there has been some unusual criminal activity, but I think by and large, I don't think crime is on the rise. And I hate to, be we're the same level we were 2-3 years ago, because that sounds disingenuous. But we haven't seen a large spike in crime of the indexes that we look at. And so, like I said earlier, all crime is bad, and we shouldn't have any of that. If people would treat each other with dignity and respect, regardless of your profession or what you do in the community, then you wouldn't need a police department, because you'd have law and order and people would respect each other. But we're not there yet. And so that would be a long-term goal of how do we get close to that as a department. So crime is how we portray it, I guess, and how we maybe broadcast it. Do we have crime in Hawaii? Absolutely. And so our police are out there in patrol. They're out there to deter crime by being a show of force, being on the streets with their blue lights lit and driving around, and then demonstrating to the public that they are there. And then our criminal investigation side, as we investigate crime that has happened, right? And then we locate the perpetrators and arrest, and then send that to the prosecutor's office for further action. So we're just one small element of this, of crime in general. Do we have the same people committing crime overall in the state of, or in the city, county of Honolulu? I think we have a small percentage of the population that's probably committing most of the crime here. Then are they incarcerated or are they on the streets? So that's the question. We're doing our part of trying to solve the crime and arresting and getting them into the court system. And that's really our role. After that, then that's judiciary's responsibility or the criminal justice system's responsibility.
Where do you think that gap is, though? I mean, even though the numbers, and I don't know what the rates are year to year, but even if they are similar to what they may have been a few years ago, there is a public perception that crime in areas like Chinatown and Waikiki, separating out the crazy incident that you referenced that happened earlier in the week, there's a feeling in the public that crime is on the rise. So how do you work to mitigate that, then, to make sure that people at least feel safe if the numbers are indeed the same?
So what we're doing now is we have a weed and seed project going on in Chinatown. We're going to do something similar in Waikiki to get officers to saturate the area with police to help deter crime and criminal activity that's ongoing. So as younger officer, as they finish the police academy, they finish the field training with an officer on how to do the job and the practicality of being a police officer. So now that you've gone through training, and then we put you on what is called the fourth watch. And so during that period of time, you'll walk the beat and you'll have access to the technologies and other things that you need. And so we can putting officers on the beat in Chinatown, in Waikiki, and then again, if we can, recruit more and then fill patrol numbers out, we'd have more officers in all of our districts. And that's the way really to deter crime and criminal activity, is to be out there. But it's also the community. The community needs to help us because our criminal population lives in the communities. And so there are people in the communities that know who these are. They see the pictures that come on Crime Stoppers or other news outlets. They know who these people are. So we're asking your help in helping us do our job, and that's report who these people are. And of course, you can stay anonymous by doing that. And so that we really need the community's help to help police communities of the people that are committing crimes in either their areas or others, but they reside there. So that's what the help we're asking for.
When we spoke to Shopo a few months back, one of the surprising topics that they actually brought up was the state of the uniforms that police officers are wearing, saying that it is outdated, and many of them have complained in the past about some of the changes that have been made to the uniform just to keep it up to date with the new requirements, with the addition of body cams and just the changes that have happened within the department that have called for maybe a change in the uniform. Is this something that is an issue or a topic that you are looking to address as well? Absolutely.
So we are looking at new uniforms, a new Sam Brown belt that holds, I call it the bat belt. It holds all your firearms, your handcuffs, and the various things that we give you. So you have that. And then there's a load-bearing vest that you could put on the outside of your uniform, that you could put you could take some of the weight off this belt and move it onto this vest. And that way, that helps officers. And so these are the things we're testing now. The uniform, right now, this is a Class A uniform. This is the same uniform I wore 40 years ago. It has its practicality and its usage, and it's clean and neat, and it looks professional. They want a little bit different version of this uniform, more of a wear and tear kind of thing that you can just wash and wear. It doesn't have to be, taken to the dry cleaners for cleaning. And then something that if you get into a scuffle during an arrest or something, that it would be able to either withstand tears, or if it ripped, it's really a secondary uniform to this. And so we're looking at all of that. They all look practical. And the different Sam Brown belt is a web-based material, not leather, which our current belt is. And so we got to make sure that those things are safe and usable by our officers. Everything has its the good and bad. And so we're weighing those options to see if it's feasible to provide for our officers. So yes, we are in discussions with Shopo on those items.
I'm interested to hear about this whole idea of restoring trust within the department. Of course, coming off the Kealoha scandal, the sort of inconsistency with having Chief Ballard there and then Chief Vanek and now you, there's been a lot of turmoil and turnover in the department in that regard. How are you going about, it's a big department, it's a lot of individuals, you certainly can't meet every single one, but what is your strategy when you're trying to figure out how to restore that trust, not just with the police and the public, but really within the department itself?
So one of the things and we're currently doing now is going out to each patrol district and each patrol watch, so that I go there, I visit with them, I talk story with the officers that are just about ready to get on duty. And then we're going to start reverse engineering that. I haven't got to all the districts yet, so we're trying to get to that. It's going to take us a couple months because as you know, I don't just have time to go visit every officer and then still do all the stuff that I need to do. I get stacks of paperwork every morning when I walk in. And so there's things I have to do. And then those are the things I have to do, but I want to do. But we're working that. I've been to, I think, 4 or 5 different districts now, and we're going to start working our way out of the police station towards Pearl City and Waianae and then the windward side. And so we'll get to all those by the end of September. And then internally, I walk around the station. I meet officers who are in the hallways, either heading to work, coming back from work, or trying to get something done in the department. I'll go to the agencies that we have, the other divisions, and just say hi and talk story with people. And so I'm getting to learn. What I've also done is I tried calling everybody on their birthday because Chief Nakamura did that when I was in the department many years ago. And I always thought that was a unique thing to do for a chief. I tried that with 1,800 officers in the department and then civilians on top of that. It's a difficult task to stay on. So what I've developed is I email everyone, and then on weekends I have to catch up for the weekends when I'm not here. But I'm sending everybody birthday wishes, and so either belated or on their birthday. And it's amazing the things I get back. People have said, "Hey, I've been in 14 years. I've never seen that before. Thank you." And so a lot of accolades coming back from just saying that somebody is out there thinking about them. And as the chief, that's my responsibility, right? Each one of our officers, my goal is to coach, teach, and mentor, motivate, and inspire them to reach their full potential of what they would like to be in the department. They want to be a sergeant, they want to be a lieutenant, or they want to be the police chief. Our goal as leaders, all of us, from myself all the way down to the sergeants and corporals, how do we get each officer to where they want to be? And so that's the way I'm looking at the department as part of my command philosophy, and that's how internally people get to understand how I make decisions. And then that's how I earn all their trust.
Well, no doubt everybody likes getting a birthday wish. Yeah. So I'm sure that is something that will be well received. I wanted to also ask you about what you thought the HPD's role in homelessness, and as we deal with that, the evolution of the core program as it continues to evolve and come forward and be implemented within the community. If you can speak a little to what you believe HPD's role is moving forward with the assistance of what we're seeing with our homeless crisis here in the city and county of Honolulu.
Yeah, I think as a leader and many other leaders, such as the mayor and our other county police chiefs, homelessness is not a criminal action. It's not a crime to be homeless, and it's very unfortunate. And I think we have 2 groups. We have a chronic group of homelessness, and then we have a houseless problem where people maybe in a financial situation can't afford rent or other things, and so they're living on the streets for a short time until they get everything back under their feet and get back in. And are we providing the right services and things, not the law enforcement, but as a city has the right services to help those houseless people get back into an apartment or a complex that provides a dwelling. And so ours is really a support mechanism to HONU, which is currently going on now that the police department has been running, but we will turn that over to the city and county, and they will take it over from here. But we will still support that. So I see our role as support, and I think CORE coming into downtown and Waikiki and other areas is a breath of fresh air on how to treat homeless people and either the drug addiction, alcohol addiction, or the mental challenges that these individuals are having, which is why they can't live in a controlled housing area or some kind of apartment complex, and they choose to be on the streets because that's better suited for their lifestyle and what they want to. So as long as they're not committing criminal acts, then the law enforcement is really not the person to be calling. We need other avenues to call, and that's with CORE, and that's what they're doing now.
There's been a lot of discussion nationally about guns, and I'm interested to get your thoughts now that the Supreme Court decision could be changing the policies here in Hawaii. Are you concerned about, the potential for more people carrying guns in our state, and how much more challenging that could make it for officers as they engage with the public? What are your thoughts on guns in our community?
Yeah, so Hawaii is one of the 14 states that had a may issue and not shall. And so we are converting. It's likely going to happen probably by the end of August. The first permits will be signed. We're trying to research and restructure our application process because we see some shortcomings in there and we need to address those. But by and large, is it a scary thought to see more and more armed people on the streets? I believe Star-Advertiser did a survey with the community, and by and large, most of the community does not want more people on the streets with guns. And so the dilemma is it open carry or is it a concealed carry? And so that's based on the application of the person. And how they want. And then is it going to add more criminal opportunities to people carrying guns? Where are you going to keep it if you go into an area that's gun restricted, right? And then the emotional impact on you as a person, if you are carrying and you have to use it. Police officers don't like pulling guns and ever having to discharge their weapons. And then being a normal human being. And we've been trained how to do that. Imagine if you're a civilian and you come across a situation and now you've used your firearm and killed somebody. And then the legal ramifications of all of that are going to come into play. And are the citizens prepared for all of that? And so those are things that officers are trained. You've been educated in that. And those are the things that you get periodic updates and training on. But the general public, not so. And so, yes, more people on the streets with guns is a scary thought. But if you look at it from the other side, you have people that can protect themselves in the event that there's not a law enforcement officer there. And so we're going to see this happen. And then we're going to have to adjust, I guess, how we future look at this, because law enforcement officers are not used to this. They go to a scene, they're going to be multiple people now armed. And then they have to make sure that how do we, engage in these community members that are armed and understand between each other that, hey, I'm a licensed person, I can carry my gun, and you're not the threat that we got called in the first place. So there's a learning curve here going on currently in the department, and the community of the city and county of Honolulu needs to address.
If I could just follow up on that just quickly, how soon do you expect to be signing those permits? How many people do you think will be granted that authority? What is that actually going to look like?
Based on the law, if you have an application and met the requirements and you pass the background checks and the other articles that I have to take care of as far as the police chief issuing a license, right now there's 193 applicants. And so, in essence, if all of them pass the application process, you'll have 193 people that have a license to carry a firearm.
Unfortunately, our time is almost up. But before we let you go, just wanted to allow you just a final word this morning to those who may be watching, still getting to know you. And again, you talked about your priorities at the top of the show, but just maybe your general message to the public as you begin this new chapter of the department and being its leader.
Well, I'd really like to say thank you to the community. The more I've gotten around since the last month and a half, since being selected by the police commission, my face is well known, And so everywhere I go, people are you the new chief? And I say, yes, I am. And so we have a short conversation. But by and large, almost everyone has said, well, thank you for, throwing your name in the hat. Thank you for what you're doing. And just overall, best of luck in the department. And so I say to all of those people, thank you for that and recognizing who I am. But more so in the police department, we're looking for, 300 plus individuals out there in the communities that want to do a profession that's a very noble profession. It's a long 200-year profession of law enforcement. And by and large, the department is a wonderful organization that's doing its best to help serve the communities. And what better way to serve your community that you've grown up in, that you were raised in, that helps shape who you are, to serve them and return the favor back to them as a member of the law enforcement community of Honolulu Police Department. So that's really what I'd like to say. Thank you to the community that's out there. But also, we're short 300 officers and we have vacancies, and we'd like you to come in, take our test and be an applicant, and look forward to serving with you.
Okay, well, Chief Joe Logan, thank you so much for starting your week off with us. We hope to have many more conversations with you. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it. Both of you.
Wow.
Great to hear from him, and we covered a wide range of topics. You heard there at the beginning and at the end that they are really pushing hard for recruitment and trying to see what mechanisms could be available. He said he's been talking to the mayor, looking at what departments on the continent are doing in terms of offering incentives for recruitment and perhaps for retention, saying that, there are other departments that are offering 10 to 20, I think he even said $40,000 bonuses for those who stay on a certain amount of time. And can we match that in some capacity? What would that look like here? Trying to make sure that we do have the staffing up. Crime year over year, he says it's actually not up. We do have some pretty high profile incidents that have happened in recent weeks, but it's this perception of safety that he really needs to tackle. And the way you do that and also stamp out crime is more patrol officers.
Yeah, and he did stress that while their recruitment and just trying to fill some of those vacancies are important, at this time, they aren't at a point where there's any need to cause for concern. I mean, he said they're managing with what they have. Obviously, some of these workers and some of these officers are being stretched pretty thin, having to cover a lot of area, but saying that they are managing with what they have. One of the other priorities that he said is just earning the overall trust within the department first. So that's where he is spending a lot of his efforts in coming in as somewhat of an outsider, not having worked in the department for a few decades, but coming back into the force and now leading it, saying that he's trying to find a way to build that trust. One of the interesting ways he said he was doing that was through birthday wishes for those who work within the department, finding ways to acknowledge that, to build some sort of camaraderie and relationship with these officers. And then he expanded upon, hopefully, that being able to then extend into the community and building trust back with the community, and overall trying to help to keep up with the transparency issues that have plagued the department, but making himself more available. And right off the bat, we'll be honest. I mean, we've been trying to get somebody from HPD on the show for months. And so great to see that he is now open to having this conversation and being a part of these types of conversations for the community.
Absolutely. And very interesting, that last little portion of our conversation about the recent Supreme Court decision and how that trickles down to communities across the country, including ours, which will allow for more people in our community, it sounds like pretty likely, to be carrying guns. He says he has nearly 200 applications on his desk. And if those folks all meet those requirements, then they could be allowed to conceal and carry. That will change the dynamic for the officers and also just for citizens interacting with one another, to think that you could be engaging with someone on the H1 or walking down the street who is also carrying a weapon. That's something that we really haven't had to deal with here in the city and county of Honolulu, but it does sound like it could be coming.
Yeah, no doubt, a lot of changes that could happen there, and training that will also have to go on within the officers within the department. Got a lot and heard a lot. If you missed any part of this conversation, we encourage you to go back and watch. You can also watch the rebroadcast on KCAI or catch us as a podcast wherever you like to get those audio sources where available. On Wednesday, we are switching gears and focusing on the Department of Hawaiian Homelands and some recent legislation that passed that really was monumental for the department.
Yeah, the department was granted $600 million by the legislature, the governor recently signing that into law. So now that the money will start flowing to the department, How do they then float that down to the people who need it most, those folks who have been on those wait lists for sometimes decades? What are the priorities of that money? How soon could people who are waiting, those beneficiaries, how soon could they actually receive them? There will be an option also, not just for land or homes, but also for a one-time cash payout. So how do you apply for that? What does that look like? We'll be talking to Tyler Gomes, who's been a frequent guest on this program from DHHL, about how that money will be doled out. And we are very much looking forward to that conversation. So hope to see you right back here on Wednesday at 10:30.
We'll see you then. Aloha.
This episode of Spotlight Hawaii is brought to you by Longstrugs.